you this morning. I think so. Invitation that, and like kind of an invitation. You can also think of it as an assignment or a challenge. And because I was thinking about this from last night at the jam, I was like, oh yeah, I remember when I used to go to jams, and people would pull out tunes, and I would be like, okay, so I have to try to learn the melody of the tune, or what if I don't know the tune, right? Like, how am I going to participate in the jam? And I used to always kind of feel like, well, that's kind of a drag. You know, I have to just learn the melody, but maybe I don't know what the chords are. I don't have any other way to participate in the song. And I was thinking this morning, I was like, oh, it'd be really great if we could, like, ahead of the jam, if we could facilitate like a chart of every song that we were going to play in the jam, and then everybody would just be spoon-fed and coddled, you know, and they would be like really, you know, they wouldn't have to deal with that problem of feeling like, I don't know the chords of the song, how do I learn them? Do I have to just sit here and try to learn the melody? Like I have to listen to the melody 7, 8 times and I'm still not gonna remember it. And then even if I do, I'm not gonna remember it after they play the next song. Has anybody ever experienced those feelings, or is it just me at a jam session? Okay, right. And so part of my kind of transformation from being a classical musician into being more than just a classical musician was trying to empower myself for exactly those types of situations. When I want to play music with other people, but I don't have some kind of, training wheels, or, I don't have some kind of like, extra helper that just gets me through it, like whether it's sheet music or whether it's something like that. And I didn't have the ability to recognize with my ears either everything, and I also didn't have the ability to memorize everything that I heard. So even currently now, most of the music I hear pretty much all the music in sort of the same way that if you were to read text page, you would understand the text that you read on a page, right? Or if you heard someone say words like I'm saying right now, you could see those words on paper. That's how I hear most music. I hear music now and I'm like, I can see that on the page. Like I know what the notes are. I know like pretty much what all the notes are. But I didn't at first, I trained my ears to hear that way. So the point is, if you go to a jam session, if you don't have that ability, and my point was, but even though now I have that ability, I can pretty much hear just about everything, but I still don't remember everything, right? So it still doesn't help me hear a song, because if I hear this I can hear what that is, but I'm not going to remember it the next time it comes back around. So the alternative, so we could provide those things for you at the jam session, but we're probably not going to. It's like, it's a lot, you know what I mean? Like, well, let's plan out every song that's going to happen in the jam session. And like, that's not really a jam session. Like, jam session is going to be real life. You're going to experience real life with people, and it's not going to be planned out, and you're not going to have that. So how is that really going to help you? And plus, can we even really feasibly do that? Right? And so my invitation and challenge and assignment for you is, anytime you go to a jam session for the rest of your life, any song that you ever hear or want to learn for the rest of your life, I want you to empower yourself by giving you, by acquiring the essential information of the song, which is the chord progression. So learn the chords of the song. Now, if you go to a jam session, let's say tonight on the balcony, and someone says they want to call a song, ask somebody what are the chords of the song, and bring a piece of paper and a pencil and write it down. Unless you have a fantastic memory, better memory than mine. But I'm going to give you the tools during this class today that relate to that, so that for the rest of your life, every song that you learn, not only will you be able to have the choice of being like, let me see if I can try to learn this melody, let me see if I can memorize it on the spot, blah, blah, blah. But maybe you don't want to do that. Maybe you don't want to try to learn and memorize the melody on the spot. Well, then you'll have another option, which is to participate in the song via accompanying and blending into the textures and learning the harmonies and playing other ideas independently of just the melody. There will be classes here where you can learn tunes and you can memorize melodies. I think even Cami taught one of those yesterday already, right? And so I have no problem with that. I'm just saying I think that this will empower you. So what I want to start with is pretend it's a jam session, and I say we're going to play this tune, Killarney Boys O Pleasure, or whatever it's called. And you're like, okay, I'm not going to learn the melody. I'm going to learn the chords to the song, right? So I've given you the chords in the form of chord stacks. The chord stacks, it tells you every note in the chord. And there's only two chords, A minor and G. So what we're going to start with is just playing long notes on each chord. You can pick one note from the A minor. I picked that note. And then I go to the G. And that's the entire song. You can just keep referring to those 4 bars. And now you're a participant in the jam. You don't need to know the melody. If that's the level that you're at and you just want to deal with one note at a time, then you can investigate all of the possibilities of those notes. And you can try to, as you're going through it, you can try to kind of learn each of those chords in whatever way works for you. And try to remember it so that you can come back to it and not be on the page at some point. And I'll just go through a bunch of different ways that you can do that, and you'll hear me doing it as you're doing it, and you can go at your own pace. And if you want a faster and more challenging way to engage with this, then I'm going to share it with you really quickly right now. So on the A minor, what we can do is we can go between A minor and G, and A minor and G. And on the G, we can go between G and A minor. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. So this is A minor to G, 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 A minor. And then coming back down, it's going G, A minor, G, etc. Right? Same version, right? So if I play this line, it's just A minor to G. Isn't that elegant? And then if I go G to A minor, or. That's all it is. It's G to A minor to G. Okay, ready, go. concept of voice leading is when we move stepwise from a note in one chord to a note in the next chord. We move stepwise from a voice in one chord to a voice in the next chord. So for example, I move from this voice in the A chord, I move stepwise down to the voice in the next chord, or up to this one. That's voice leading. You move stepwise from a voice in one chord to a voice in the next chord. That's it. Now, if I'm doing what I was showing earlier was voice leading with two voices. Or, right? So let's practice voice leading. Let's say that we start here and we play this line. If I play that line, then I go back to the note that I started from, and I move stepwise up to this note, or down to this one. So let's try that. Ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, rest. This is a visual exercise. Read with your eyes. Next voice. So an option for this, a variation of this, is that you can do double stops. If it's too easy for you, you can do double stops. So for example, we come down. Right? Coming down, 1. Or just single notes. You can do 1. That's just an advanced thing. Okay, this is. Let me explain it because not everybody's doing it. You should only be playing notes in the A minor chord and then notes in the G major chord, and you're probably going to need to use your eyes, right? You're probably going to look at it until you don't need to anymore. So these are only notes in the A minor chord, and then these are only notes in the G major chord. 1. Somebody's not doing it. So it's the first chord is only the notes in the A minor chord. There's no G in that chord. Somebody played a G. Somebody played a B too. Yeah. There we go. That's correct. Your eyes. Read the page. Look ahead. You can go up, you can go down. Explore all the variations. Exhaust all the voicings you have there. Good. So here's another variation of the same thing, just a way to practice this, right? So you can move, for example, I could do, A minor. Just listen for a second. G. I'm just toggling between these voices. A minor. These are only A minor notes. These are only G notes. Do you understand that concept, first of all? So you can move it at whatever tempo you want. You can use triple stops, you can use double stops, you can use single notes. But you're just practicing going between all the voices available. Now, the other thing that I was explaining earlier is this, that while I'm on the A minor chord, I can go A minor, G, A minor, G, A minor, G, A minor, G, A minor. And then when I'm on the G chord, I can go G, A minor, G, A minor, G. Okay? 2, ready, go. We're focusing on just the voicings in the left hand right now, but now let's focus on the rhythm a little bit. So the way I usually think about rhythmic comping in folk music, especially duple-based folk music, is that it's all some kind of combination of runs and ponies. Run, pony, run, pony, pony, run, pony, run, run, pony, pony, run, pony, run, pony, run, pony, run, pony, 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 run, pony, 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 run, right? So there's like an algorithm of runs and ponies, basically. So I'm going to demonstrate it now in like an audio kind of way. So, but I want you to think about what I just said and notice how I'm playing, because that's the mentality that I use. So if you just listen for a second, so. So we can try a little bit of that. You can just try to find your flow with that. Now, bear in mind, I can still explore different voicings and I can make it more interesting for myself. But the primary goal for me is to stay in the changes and to create stability. Stability. So one of the things for everybody else in the group, right, to be the rhythm section. So when we go to a jam session, usually somebody like Austin and the guitar player, that's all they're doing is providing stability. They're caretakers for us, and we're kind of like babies in a way, because we're just sitting there and we're just like letting them take care of us, right? So we get to take the initiative of being the caretakers for everybody else and providing that stability. And it's the work of, it's labor. Being a part of the rhythm section is labor. It's laborious. I have a blister on my thumb to show it from last night when I just played one song on the guitar. You know, it's just like playing Every Breath You Take on the, like literally I have a blister. I can't even pizzicato on my violin with my thumb today because I did it, right? And that's part of the reason I use this loop pedals, because it's so tiring and I get in pain if I was just comping for you the whole time. But that's what so many people in the rhythm section do, is they're just doing that labor all the time. Like that's their full-time job as musicians. They're just laborers, you know. Whereas we as melody players are kind of privileged and spoiled, because it's just like, tell me when to come in and what's the melody, and yeah, I'll just play it when I want, and maybe I'm in time and maybe I'm not, but it doesn't really matter because it's not my job, it's your job. So part of the thing that we miss out on is that we feel disconnected. We feel like we don't really understand what the rhythm section's doing. They don't let us into their inner circle. We don't have the shared language that they do. We don't hear the things that they do. And we kind of feel excluded. But the thing is that we're excluding ourselves because we don't take on the labor. And the price that we have to pay if we want to be included is labor. Just like in the real life analogy of being a caretaker in, like, there's people here that are full-time teachers, like Amanda and Wendy, and probably an Anna, and who teach in classrooms, and and I have so much respect for what you do because I know that that's what it is. It's just caretaking. It's caretaking, right? And because of that immense amount of labor that you put into working with those children every day, there's something you gain from that, which is like an insane amount of insight and compassion and sensitivity, and also the relationships that you have with hundreds, maybe thousands of children, right? Like deep relationships. You earned that relationship because of the labor that you do. And there's no shortcut to that. I could never do that. Like, I'm so deeply humbled. And it's a perfect analogy for this. If you want to have that relationship with the music, if you want to have that acceptance from and respect from the rhythm section, if you want musicians to call you, if you want to feel like you can be included in the jam, if you want to find joy and connection and creativity like among other musicians, then this is the price you get to pay. It's the labor, right? So that's all to say that, like, practice playing rhythm, but stay in time, because it's your job to be stable. You know what I mean? So I'm giving it to you here with the loops. I'm giving you the ability to do that. But then later on this morning, we're going to send you out and we're going to give you a real world examples where you're going to be charged with doing that with like a duo partner. Okay, so having said that, runs and ponies, 2, ready, and. or we gave you E minor pentatonic, the G major pentatonic. We also gave you the A Dorian, which is just the G major scale. And we probably gave it to you in extended range, but we also have this this sheet over here that later on you can look at if you want. It's called the Extended Range Scales Worksheet. But basically, I gave it to you at the bottom of this page. I want you to think of every major scale as I'll show you really quickly. This is assignment number 2, invitation number 2. So every major scale on the violin goes from the lowest, it's always A, B, C, D, E, F, G, starting from the lowest note on your instrument and going to the top of first position. So G major, F major, E flat major, D flat major, what's next? F sharp, C, and then what would be B, and then E, A, D. Sorry. And that was, is that all of them? I don't know. Anyway, but do you see how that works? So any major scale you want to be able to play like that. That's the invitation. But the way to facilitate that, if it's hard for you, is to just write it on there. And that's what I wrote at the bottom of this page. I gave you from G until B on violin or on cello and viola, whatever you got. And there's a worksheet in the back that you can use, but you also don't need that. You can just draw it on a piece of paper. So for every major scale, just major scale, that's all I want you to be able to do is play it as one key signature. And do not learn 7 modes, because then you'll just learn the same things, but you'll spend 7 times as much effort. So all you have to learn is a key signature, and then you don't have to learn it 7 times, 7 different ways. That's how I approach it. So let's talk about the scale for this song. There's a few different ways to think about the scale, but basically...
Chris, I'm just going to say, I think what you said was really important, and I don't understand it.
Oh, okay. So what I'm saying is you want to learn your major scale.
Yeah.
From G to B.
And I don't, so how does this worksheet figure out?
The worksheet just means that, like, do you see how I wrote this at the bottom of this of the page, and there's a key signature? So the worksheet just has the same information that's there. It just has A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way from G to B. That's all it has, is just this. With those sharps or flats. And the way it works in is that you're going to add the sharps and flats depending on what key you're in.
So all different keys.
For all 12. Exactly. It just becomes a visual aid. So like, if you look at the bottom of this Killarney boys, that's a good question. Thank you. If you look at the bottom of this page, if you wanted to change the key signature, you could change the key signature on the left side, right? Or if you just wanted to write the accidentals in, you could do that. That's easier. You could write in the sharps and the flats. And then that's the tool that I use to encourage you to learn the major scale. So, which all comes back to like, what scale does this tune use? So I'm gonna, first of all, here's how I think about the scale. Assuming the scale's not changing, then we're gonna say we have these notes and we have these notes. So that's already 6 notes. It only leaves 1. There's only 1 that we don't already have in the chords, which is some kind of F. So it's either gotta be an F natural or an F sharp. But if you look at the key signature, it says F sharp. So that gives you all the information you know that you need to know that we're in the key of G major, also known as A Dorian, which you don't need to know what that means. It's just, it's the key congruent with G major. It's the key that has A, B, C, D, E, F, G when F is sharp, right? So, and another way to know that is because if you look at the melody, there's this, there's that, which has an F sharp. So the melody tells us the information. The melody tells us the information. So, which is all to say that if you want to play over this song, you can now use the G major scale and and you can make melodies out of that in addition to the chord tones. So maybe I start on a chord tone, and I land on chord tones. So pretty much all those prominent notes that I'm playing are in the chord, but then anything else that I want to play is just out of the scale. In fact, you can play whatever you want out of the scale. So let's try that. Ready, go. So one of the things I actually just decided, I know that what's going to be perfect for this, is I'm going to send you into duos or trios. And you're going to find a space where your only job is going to be to play this tune, but you're going to take turns being the accompanist and the soloist. So I'm going to show you different ways to do it. So for now, I'm going to be the soloist and you're going to be the accompanist. And first of all, I want you to do the easiest way, which is just like, for example, let's say you're here and you just 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, right? You can do that. And so, or you can do a variation which would be like, maybe like this. Your job is to provide harmonic and rhythmic stability, right? Or something like this. Right? Or you could do something like that. Whatever provides rhythmic stability. You could do run ponies. Or you could do 3, 4. That's purposely like a very advanced one because I wanted to show you that there's no limit to how far you can take this. That's the point, right? I mean, you could right? You can do whatever you want with it. So there's no reason for you to feel not challenged by it. But also, I encourage you to stay within. You have to do it. You can only go as far with it as you can stay in the form. That's the trick. So if you're like, I'm having a hard time counting this, then I just want you to be there and just count for the person. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and play 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, right? So as I said yesterday, and as my yoga teacher said to me the other day, it's not about going deeper into the stretch. It's about being more present where you can be in the stretch. And in this case, it's not about being more complicated. It's about providing that stability, like having the integrity of the form, inhabiting the form. That's the job. So does that make sense? Because what I'm going to send you out is I want to send you out and I want you to trick. Well, let's just try it first. So you're accompanying me. I'm going to play the melody of this song. 2, 3, 4. So I purposely didn't listen to you because I wanted to make you listen to me. All right, you got to accompany me. 1, 2, ready, go. No, you got to accompany me. Okay, so this is what I'm playing. I'm going to sing it for you. I just want you to listen. Da di do do bo bo be do be da bo ba bo 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 be ba ba. Right. So you got to listen to me while you're listening to yourself. 2, ready, go. I lost you. You got it. So listen to me, and then come in. Yeah. So it's not where you hear it in your head. It's where you play it with your bow. It's where the sound comes out of your instrument, right? So, and so if you have to simplify it and just be here, be with me. 2, ready, go. No? Ready, go. This is like an actual thing out of Whiplash. Everybody see the Whiplash movie? I'm like, do not be the Whiplash guy right now. 1, 2, 3, 4. You get the point, right? That's your job. If you're accompanying somebody else, then your job is to actually provide them the support and to have the compassion and the focus on them while you're also focusing on yourself at the same time. So I want you to find someone that seems like simpatico with you. Maybe you can either go in groups of 2 or groups of 3. There's a space there, there's a space here, there's another space there, there's benches. I want you to take like the next 15 or so minutes, and we'll come back here. We'll be back here at 1/4 and take your music stand, take your thing, and just do the best you can with it. Have fun with it. See you at 1/4. Isn't that cool? Yeah. Nice to meet you, Santi. Hi. Oh, that's great. Really?
He's only 6, but I'll bring him.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that.
And that's the Dieter, my husband. He's the guitar off of.
Very nice to meet you. Hi. Thank you so much. I'm a big fan of yours, and thanks for letting me borrow your steel string guitar last
That
night.
was mine. Yeah.
Okay, well, I just let me borrow yours, but I have a blister from trying to play. So. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate you. Nice to meet you.
talking to F sharp, whatever, 2 sharps like that, that's it, that's all it's talking about?
Yeah,
So
so
where did it go from that to this song here? Because it's missing some notes, it's not exactly like this. I don't think I just want to- I'm sure it's not. Right, and then that one. He's also missing the C, so pentatonic misses
Yeah, so it misses the two notes of the process.
all the halves.
Yes, like the C's have to compete and the F sharp is
Alright, so the fourth and the seventh.
Yeah.
So this one is missing.
Well, you might have to do the
Yeah, see what I mean? I don't get. I mean, I kind of, but it's just, that's not everyone. Yeah, I'm telling you, yeah, it's just, you know, because it goes so fast, it doesn't make any sense. Danny, we met Danny and her husband. For some reason, I wanted to meet him with a baby. Your baby's name? Julian? Yeah, excellent. I remember the guy, was coming out and they're like, no. Oh, wow. So they could leave, so you have to leave maybe. Oh, I leave super early Friday morning. And I got him late. After kids, they're over. One of them is in high school, so. Anyway. So, all right, very cool. And what did you say your, what was it, your mom?
Is that what the rest of it?
Oh,
There's also.
and obviously doing these changes to the
That's when the dolphin shows.
It's a lot of like, on the phone, and like, oh, that's
Second half. That was fun, thank you. What's your name? Ayla, how do you spell it? A-A-A-I? E-Y, wow. E-Y-L-E-N. Where's it from? Oh my God, I was just in Istanbul 2 months ago. Yes. Well, I get goosebumps, that's so weird. Very cool. Anna. My name is Lizzie. Very funny. Wow. Wow. I was just in Istanbul and I'm like super interested in everything now. I was actually teaching in Singapore and it was a good stop between Miami and Singapore and it was free because Turkish Airlines covers it. So I was very excited to go. I went with my husband for 6-7 days. Oh yeah, I went to the Asian side and I forgot the names of everything with a K everything with a K. But yeah, I went to quite a few places, very exciting. I love it. Yeah, I stayed right by Hagia, but trying to feel, but then after that, when we took the train, we went as far as we could, we went to like college towns, and where no one spoke as much English anymore, which was perfect, that's what I wanted. so it was very exciting, a lot of Google Translate, but very fun. Yeah, we had a great time, and it was snowing, which is very unusual actually. In February 22nd, very excited. Tesicular, whatever. I'm like, God, it took me so long. I couldn't figure it. How do you say it? Tesicular. Okay, fine. That one makes more sense to me. There were so many different. Yes, and that is the one that killed me. And the person that was reading my coffee, and then the short one, there's a short one. Sal. I was like, why does everybody just say Sal? Sal is so much easier for me. Sal? I love Sal. Sal what? Sal?
Yeah, there's an L.
Sal. Oh, I didn't know the L. See, I said it wrong. But anyway, very cool. So okay, but you always lived here, or?
No, I grew up there.
Oh my gosh, what an exciting place to grow up, and it was pretty impressive. I loved it. I was like fascinated by absolutely. I went to the Princess Islands too, the big one that started with the B. And I went all the way to that Byzantine monastery on top, whatever, it was a workout. But I love that town where we took the trip, the trolleys to go there. I love that town. It was even the young people didn't speak as much English, which was perfect because I wanted. So, you know, I had the mussels and the stuff with rice there. It was fascinating. I really liked it. Yeah, huh? The food is incredible. Oh my gosh. Then I went to Singapore and I didn't like the food there. So I was like, just like Kentucky. I enjoyed it. Very cool. Very cool. And why did you move here? Just... Oh, your parents moved here. Yeah, I lived in Puerto Rico until I was actually when I was 14. Went back to Puerto Rico since and then my parents moved out of Puerto Rico, so then I had to come back to the States.
I'm gonna start.
I was about 17.
So
So I had to come back. Yeah, it's a fun, it's amazing. Lam, L-A-M. L-E-M, L-E-M. The merchants were pretty aggressive. Oh my God. It was pretty impressive. I loved it. I hope I can go back. I want to do the southern. Maybe one the Ephesus and all that, but do you ever come back or no? Your mom is there? Oh, wow. What? Nice. Oh my gosh. I love the whole system of trains and all that. It's so much more efficient but at least people can drive there. It's like where they couldn't drive. It's like impossible because there's just no space. Very few people own cars. Yeah, because it's so expensive to own a car. You also need a permit to put it on the road. It's like $10,000 for a permit, $100,000 for a permit. It's like out of control. It's really expensive. So there it wasn't as much of an option. At least in Turkey, it was an option. It was crazy to drive. It is the whole but at least it was an option in other towns, you know. But I never got it. I only took public transportation because you're constantly moving. What do you do now? Oh wow. Okay, what do you do? Are you a musician full time? Yeah. Wow. Very cool. That's so weird. I don't think that was coincidence. That's very unusual to be so from Turkey. I love the look at it. I even have my little Istanbul sticker. I was like in love with the place that on this one. I just loved it. I loved it. I always keep on talking about it with my husband and my husband couldn't go to Singapore with me to do the teaching part. It was 12 more days and we had the kids. But I was very stressed out. I was like, listen, you go to Singapore with me because we can go back home and take care of our kids so I can do the rest of the teaching without a clear head. So I didn't go to Singapore at least compared to that was the highlight of our trip. I loved Sulaiman, the mosque there. That was my favorite because I didn't really care for the mosque as much as I liked all the mosques. They were very, very cool. What was the last time you went? 23, okay. Well, I heard that my marriage was not as bad then now. I was the one who didn't have that they were around, but he's still incarcerated, right? So what do you think of all this? Because the other guy I heard was also everybody's hurt. The one that he arrested. The other guy, oh yeah, that's what I imagined. Really? Yeah, I saw this picture everywhere when I was in Istanbul before the incarcerated because that when I'm home, I'm also there. Yes, of course. He was yes, that's why I saw this picture. And then that's the Christmas guy. Okay, so it was so crazy that we left. Okay, but then there's no way he's gonna let him out now, do you think? She just told me. There's no way. He stopped the transportation system when he had to go to the protest. that guy, back. Yeah, unfortunately, the solution seems as if someone may kill him or something. They're gonna try him. He seems very powerful. What's his name? I forget. I am sorry, what a pain. I hope your parents can figure out a way.
This is why I got to
I'm just curious about
Well, it's so crazy. When I left, it was before my husband stayed home one night, and he was there for the first day of Ramadan. And everybody eating in the middle of the food or whatever. He was like, "No, Fred, there you go." He was really fast and turning, but he was like, "No, I'm not scared or whatever," but there was a lot of control. It was fascinating to see too. I didn't expect. I went there because I could, because I was going to see for my famous trip. So I figured, why not? I wanted to explore. I'm very much a fan of like food and Eastern dancing. So I figured, let's just try. And the music, I even teach my students that pieces 70s. That's Arab. I forgot what it's called. I don't know the title. I think it was. Anyway, I figured this is the closest I'm going to get to Arab culture. You know, it was the closest. So I figured, but it was so much more. It was very interesting.
Awesome, welcome back. All right, welcome back. Okay, I think I'm gonna start the class now, if that's cool with everybody.
Okay, I'm ready.
Thank you.
We're ready.
So, we're gonna go into a free improv thing here in a minute, guided free improv thing here in a minute, but first, I thought actually this would be a really great chance to bring up another topic, just for a few minutes, which I call micro improvisation. I learned that term from Matt Glazer, who was my boss at Berklee College of Music. Really cool guy, Matt Glazer. I'm gonna demonstrate it first, and then I'm gonna explain to you and give you a couple of exercises you can all just do in this room together, just for a few minutes, and something you can think about, and we'll return to it over the week. So I think this is especially useful for ear players. You know, we spent a lot of time in the first class giving you kind of these analytical tools and, you know, reading and all this kind of stuff. But you know, everybody's always like, yeah, but how can I just use my ear? How can I use my intuition? How can I do it that way? And so the concept of micro improvisation, as I understand it, is about making micro changes. And the key word is micro. Little tiny changes, and you can look at each phrase in a tune, and you can make micro changes. And it's actually a note that I was going to give to Kevin today. What I was going to say to Kevin was, I was so impressed with how well you played last night. I already said I loved your gear, I loved your rig. And also I think it's quite possible that this comment wouldn't apply because of the fact that I believe you were kind of showing people the tune last night. You were kind of doing a service of being like, hey, let me play the melody for you guys so you can all hear it and like learn it after I play it several times. But just in case that's not the case, one of the things that I was going to invite you to do, because you play so well, is like, hey, all those tunes that you play so beautifully, the melodies, like every time you play that melody from now on, you could make micro changes. And it could be a micro change every 4 bars, it could be a micro change every bar. So if I read this melody, I'm gonna show you could read along while I'm playing, you just listen, and I want you to notice the micro changes I make. So I made many changes over the course of those 8 bars, but they all went into the categories of what I would call, number 1, change the rhythm, number 2, subtract, 3, add, and number 4, replace. But here's the key, the way you need to practice this, whether you're adding, subtracting, changing the rhythm, or replacing, is you have to practice it with a tiny, tiny, tiny amount of material. And you think about it slowly and you go through it several times. So we're gonna start with this, just that amount of material. And you think, well, what could I take away? I took away this, I took away the first note. That was takeaway. I could also do, I could change the rhythm. That's changing the rhythm. I could replace and change the rhythm. What's the other one? Add something. Right? So it's the kind of thing you can think about. You know, I could add a pickup. Or that's taking away things. It's really simplifying it. And so this is the way you can work through an entire tune, just really slowly. You work on one phrase, then you work on the next phrase, then you work on the next phrase, then you work on the next phrase. I'll show you, I'll just do it again one more time so you could hear it. Make sense? So actually, I'll just run the loop and you can try it, but remember that, yeah, you've got the option that you can try to play with any of those phrases. If you're just staying only in the first bar, you just stay only in the first bar and keep coming back to it when it comes back around. Or if you're staying in the first 8 bars, and just think about that. Add, subtract, change the rhythm, or replace. And it doesn't, in this case, it really doesn't matter what scale, doesn't matter what chord tone, the point is to kind of use your ear and to use this framework and your intuition and to get a pattern of doing that, because the goal would be that from now on, you never feel compelled that you have to play the same melody the same way ever. I mean, I just demonstrated, right? Like, I don't even really know this tune. If I read a tune, even if I'm sight reading a tune, I don't even feel compelled to play the melody the way it was written. Like, it's just programmed into me that I'm always trying to make micro changes and challenge myself. Okay, 2, ready, go. awesome. That's the concept for micro improvisation. We'll come back to it. We'll look at it in other scenarios. So now I want to pivot into another concept which we sometimes call free improvisation or structured improvisation. It's actually heavily structured. So one of the principles of the creative process in my mind is that if you have too much freedom, if you have too much choice, it actually is stifling and paralyzing. And so it's kind of a paradoxical thing. In the same way as I just gave you like very specific structures, which was replace, add, change the rhythm, or the other one, I forget what it was. But they're very specific ideas, right, for how to be creative. And I think a lot of times we're not creative because we have too many choices. And so I'm trying to give these frameworks not only for you as players, but also for you as teachers so that you can replicate them with your students. And so we can call it free improvisation, we could call it structured improvisation. One of the challenges though with improvisation for a lot of musicians is that in many musical situations, we don't have enough information to understand it. So, for example, in the example of the song that we just played, we spent a lot of time like understanding what is this information, what are these chords, what are the scales, what's the rhythmic structure, right? Before we can be creative within that particular structure, we need to be able to understand it. And I think one of the real challenges that we face is the false assumption, the very dangerous and false assumption that I should be able to just magically divine, you know, something that's great that works over this song. I don't think that it works that way. I think it's a really horrible assumption, and it causes this horrible affliction that many of us feel where we just constantly doubt ourselves and blah, blah, blah. And because for these structures, there needs to be time and study until we can get to a point that we understand them well enough that we can be creative with them. Now, but the thing is, we can be really, really creative if we are using structures that we understand. So, and we all fundamentally understand lots of structures. As long as we don't put this extra thing of like it needs to sound like this, or it needs to be this, or it needs to be this, like it needs to be jazzy, or it needs to have this certain harmonic thing, like that's adding something to it. So that's why I do this. So a lot of times when we do this, it'll be chromatic. It'll be like any notes apply. And so we make music with any notes. Or we make new music with like a major scale, or like with a technical thing that everybody can do. And in this way, if you're a teacher, you can bring this to somebody the first day that they ever even see a violin. They can be creative from the very first encounter with the violin, if you understand this framework. So we're going to start with something today, and I'll give you lots of these different frameworks over the course of the week, but we're going to start with something today that I call the sentence game. And so one of the things about the sentence game is that it's call and response. So there's other structures that are not call and response, where we're saying things at the same time. So for the sentence game, can I get 2 volunteers? Yeah, okay, Lana and Becca. So the sentence game, and I learned this from my wife, she's a theater person. She came out of theater, and so this is a theater game. And if you think about like improv comedy, I think improv comedy is a great way to think about structuring group improvisation musically as well. But the thing about improv comedy is that we all understand words. We don't all understand harmony and grooves, right? That's the critical distinction here. So a word, a word, a word, a word, a word, a word, until somebody says period. And the goal is to make a sentence. Lana, can you start?
We're not doing it with instruments.
Not yet.
Oh, today I slept in and forgot about this. And
What?
felt sad because I missed a lot of Period.
There you go. That is the sentence game. Teachers, note this exact sequence because you can replicate the sequence the way I just did it, okay? And you can, every step that I continue to take from now, you can replicate it. Okay, so now I would like another 2 volunteers. Okay, Moochie and Diane. Great, perfect. Thank you, Diane, for volunteering. Moochie, now you're going to need the violin, Moochie. And he didn't know that. Moochie just started playing violin yesterday. True story, I think. Or like literally, how long have you been playing the violin, Moochie?
I played like a couple of days last year, and then
There you go.
at camp last year, and then
First time though ever, correct?
But
Yeah, so literally, actually, this is a person who just picked up a violin. Okay, so, which, thank you for helping me make the point, Moochie. So now we're gonna do exactly what they did, but instead of saying a word, you're gonna play a note. So it's gonna be note, 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 until somebody says period. Okay, Moochie, can you start, please?
question.
Yes.
Do I say period with the violin or with my mouth?
Oh, you with your mouth.
Okay.
Although that's a good variation. And if you're using period, by the way, in an international audience thing, you'd want to use full stop because period means something else in other countries. I learned. I was kind of embarrassed. Anyway, true story.
Okay.
No, but it's got to be one note.
One note. Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. No,
I don't know what one note means.
Wait.
I'm sorry. I'll start. Yeah.
Oops, I don't know what one.
that was cool. Period. Very good. Good job. Good job. Thank you, Moochie. And also, by the way, teachers, when you do these, I was almost going to mention it, but then he did it. He used his finger. But you know that'll be one of the things that the kids will do. They'll just revert to open strings. And so a lot of times I'll say you've got to use your fingers to the kids, especially the middle school kids, because they'll just do these exercises all with open strings. So you just have to tell them use your left hand fingers. Okay, so now I'll say, does anybody 2 more volunteers? Let's say Elam and Christy. So what I'll say is, okay, so thanks for volunteering. And how would you change the rules? Each of you plays 3 notes. Great. How about you start, Christy?
All right.
Period. Thank you. Bravo. Okay. So remember this. This is a structure. It's called the sentence game, and then you can vary this with so many different variations. So if you get together with one other person, with 2 other people, right? You could be like, well, we've got to play double stops. We're going to use pizzicato. Like, we're going to use a question mark instead of a period. And by the way, if you just let the kids change the rules, or if I just let you change the rules, you'll come up with tons of things. But it's just this framework, and it's all you need. And you can do this every day with your students in orchestra, and you can send them on breakouts, and that's what we're going to do later, right? That is one of the limits of it, is that it's harder to do with 30 people in the room. But it's very useful exercise for like 2 people. And what is this? Well, this is, okay, here's a structure for you to jam. So if you're a teacher and you want to create a jamming culture, this is a way to create a jamming culture. Because the kids don't need to know how to play over 4 strings. They don't need to have technique. They don't need to know jazz theory. They don't need to know harmony, So this is the answer to that question. That's the sentence game. Now, and that's something I just want you to remember because later on you can use that, right? And did you hear how there was music within that, or how there could be music within that, and it doesn't have to be a tune, it doesn't have to be a progression, it doesn't have to have time, and if you really evolve this and grow it, you'll be amazed at what you can get from this process. So yeah, so now I'm going to show you some group conducted activities. So the first group conducted activity, there's signals for these, and this means we're in the free note system. So a free note system, a free note means we start together, we just hold the note and change the bow if needed, holding the note, and then we come off together. But the critical thing is that we want to change together. We want to attack and release together. The other critical thing is that we want to balance our levels. You don't get to be louder than someone else, and you also don't get to hide. You don't get to be quieter than anybody else. Let's try it. Free note. We'll attack together. We'll balance our level. We'll listen to everybody else, and we'll say, am I quieter than somebody else? Am I louder than somebody else? And we'll adjust, and then we'll release together. Here it is. Let your bow change when it needs to change. Very nice. Now let's do another free note. Beautiful. Again. Free note experiences I ever had. Okay, so we're gonna do now. This is another signal. This means split. Now we're splitting the group into two parts. So we have a group here and we have a group here. Okay, right? So now I'm conducting this group. That's the split. Now this is another signal. If I point to you, it means you can do anything you want. All right? Just remember that. If I point to you, you can do anything you want. You're a soloist. So this is, remember this, free note. First of all, here's the split. So we're on this side of the room. Okay, so we'll do free note, and we'll do picks. Okay, so for everybody, ready? Anything you want. structures, again, I just want to repeat one of the things I said earlier. Even somebody who's just playing the violin for the first time can understand these things and can use all these frameworks to be creative, which means you don't need to know the changes to Killarney Boys, right? You don't need to know 2-5-1s. You don't need to know thirds and sevenths. And I think it's really important to practice in this way, being creative, and not just by yourself, but also jamming in small groups. And so that's what we're going to send you out to do shortly after you just do a little more of this. But for the teachers, a lot of times I've heard since 1998, when I first became an outcast in the classical worlds and in the and also in the jazz world, because people were like, "What is this? Why are you doing this? Why are you bringing a violin to a jam session? Or why do you even like that music? Or why do you like to do all these other things?" There was always teachers would say when I would start to visit schools back then that they were like, well, but first of all, like, people need to learn technique first, and they need to learn like all these fundamentals before they can be creative. And what I'm proving to you right now is that's not true. Like Moochie just showed that, right? And I would argue that actually the opposite is the case, that the more that you're creative, you'll actually learn better technique, because you'll be motivated to play on your instrument and discover things, and there'll be problems that you'll encounter that then you'll actually have to solve, which is better than just solving them from a Shradic book, or from, which is not to say there's not a place for a Shradic book, but it's like we want to create this level of engagement and curiosity with students and with ourselves. And also, what is the thing that makes a difference between the last chair second violin and the concertmaster of the orchestra, right? Like, how are you ever going to make that last chair second violinist in your orchestra feel that they have the same value as the concertmaster in your orchestra? If you're only measuring them by the standard of how they play orchestral repertoire, then nothing you can say to that last chair second violin is ever going to make them feel that they're worthy of, of the same value to your orchestra that the concertmaster is. But if you operate in this way, then everybody can feel equal and worthy and different and like valuable because of their difference. And if you look through creative music and creative arts and just through humanity, then I would argue that this is what we want to promote. This is the type of true diversity that we want to promote in the world, is recognizing that everybody has something beautiful and special to give, right? So this is how you can do this in a musical environment. And like Miles Davis couldn't play like Charlie Parker. He couldn't. Miles Davis could not play as fast as Charlie Parker. He did not have the same harmonic complexity as Charlie Parker. He didn't have the chops. He didn't have all these things, right? But he became an important figure in music because he found a way to make his contribution. And there's examples of this everywhere. I can't do the things that Cammie can do. I can't do the things that Austin can do. But I can admire them, and I don't have to compare myself unfavorably to them, because I can say, oh, I have the things that I bring. You know what I mean? And that's what I want to instill for you, no matter what your level is, that there's a way for you to engage with music and to be able to contribute something and create joy and connection, regardless of whether you can follow the time on every song that you encounter or whatever it might be, right? So that's what we want to promote. That's why this is important. And it's especially important for the teachers to be able to give that to your students and foster lifelong learning. All right, so some more examples of this. So this is, let's do the number system really quick. So number system, this is we're going to do C, D, E, F, G, A, B, yeah. But for teachers, you could also do this where Do is D, right? D major. So this is the note that's happening, and this is when it happens. C, D, E, F, G, A, B. Okay, let's try it. Ready? split. Okay, cool. So, and then you could do a three-way split if you wanted to. And then this would be C sharp, D sharp, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, okay? Yeah, that's the number system, that's the number system.
Is that sharp or flat?
Sharps.
Oh, so if it's sideways, it's sharp.
Yeah, if it's sharp, if it's sideways, it's sharp, exactly, yeah. Okay, so that's kind of like that's like the cool thing that teachers can use. I don't know how practical it is for other things, but we will have you guys conducting at some point. In fact, let's get two conductors. Who wants to conduct? Yeah, Chris is gonna conduct, and we need one more volunteer. Mooch, great. All right. So coming up, you will not need your instrument to conduct. And I'm going to explain just a little bit more about this while they're getting ready to do this. So, because then after we like maybe five more minutes of conducting, then we're going to send you out in jam groups. So the explanation for all this, we want to think about like how do we structure creativity? How do we structure music? And when we think about, I have like 4 categories. First category is feelings, the second one is techniques, the third one is musical elements, and the fourth one is anything else. And so those are supposed to represent like the infinite elements of the universe. The infinite elements of the elements of the infinite universe, right? And what are elements? They're things that cannot be broken down further, right? Just like a scientific periodic table, there's like 120 like elements of the material world, or something like that. 88, I don't remember what number it is. But so what can not be broken down further that's in music? Well, pitch, right? Maybe harmony, maybe density, maybe phrasing, maybe articulation. It's like things like this. And if we use these as structures, then we can create little frameworks that anybody can be creative with. So one of the things I shared with that today, even though we were using or yesterday, even though we were using a major scale, is like we're going to play recurring notes of an equal duration, right? Or with this like kind of conductive thing where it's like hold any note, right? That's a structure that anybody can understand. So I just want to give you that theory because in like 5-10 minutes I'm going to send you out and I'm going to ask you to jam with a partner for like 20 minutes with like a partner or two. So here are the options you have. And we're going to split it, so we've got this side of the room is for Chris, and this side of the room is for Mitchie. That's how we're going to do it for now. It could be different. You can tell people what you want to do. You can use signs and signals, or you can use these cards. Does that make sense? Okay. So ready and go. Okay, awesome. Is that it? Okay, good job. Give it up for the conductors. Okay. So now here's your assignment. Your assignment for the next 27 minutes is to find, I think it'd be cool if you found like a different partner or different partners from who you worked with earlier today. So find somebody you don't know or whatever. I would recommend groups of 2 or 3 or 4, your choice. You could always work individually. But what I want you to do for the next 25 minutes, and hopefully our coaches will kind of rove around, checking on you a little bit, find a space that's like your space, right? And then what I want you to do is to give yourself different structures to improvise with. But the key is the structure, right? So I'll give you a couple different options. Now, number 1, we have the sentence game, which we covered earlier, right? You can do the sentence game. And you can come up with different rules for the sentence game. But that is a call and response structure. So another structure where we're playing together might be like, you know, playing different rhythms but at the same time. So I'll just give you a couple examples. So Chrissy and Ayla. So I want you to just play random notes but together moving at the same time. So we're going to say no, 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 no. Okay? And you're just going to keep it going. And remember, they're random notes. They're any notes. Ready, go. Good. So, and that, you might define that as like a rubato version, but you could also have a tempo version, right? Where it's like we keep a tempo. So let's do a variation of that with Hillary and Maddie. So you're going to play 8th notes and you're going to play quarter notes. And the 8th note tempo will be this. Da, da, da. The quarter will be half that. Ready, go. Yeah, for example, right? And so they were in the key of C major, but they could also do it in a chromatic key. They could do it with 12 notes, or they could do it with a different major scale. And they could switch, right? Or it could be 4 notes per 1 note. So we're trying to identify these types of structures. Or you could use freer structures like, hey, play happy, and I'll play love, pizzicato, right? All of these can be combined, right? So it's like we have angry and we have slow. What's that? This is a musical element, and this is a feeling. And you could combine that with another thing like high, right? So think about elements that you can combine to create structures, and then just kind of play the structure, you know, for like a minute or 2 or 3 and see where it goes. And don't judge it. And don't try to make it sound like what you think music is supposed to sound like. Most importantly, just like experience it, like submit to this process and let it be what it is. All right, any questions? Okay, so have fun, and then we might see you while we're rolling around, check in on you, otherwise we'll see you at lunch. Thank you.
Sure.
Record yourself.
What a good spot.
Record yourself. Make videos.
Just whatever. Does anyone want to play? Yeah, I can do it. Sounds good. Did you get here today? Yeah. Were you? Oh, out of New York? Oh, Florida. I was thinking Sarasota. Okay. Sure, we're gonna take a little outfit break. Outside. It's not too bad from Florida to here. I'm from Boston.
I don't need any things because we're just picking like.
Well, I'll bring it. Thank you. I'll bring that from.
We can stay in.
Oh, sorry, I forgot. I have an announcement. Somebody named Peter Hennig wants his wife to call him back. I don't know who.
Oh, it's Dieter, I got it, yeah.
Oh, you got it.
We're gonna do like 2
The front desk told me I was like, I thought it was-
Just now or before?
No, before. I thought it was like for an hour.
You guys. I feel bad.
You can do something.
You can try for it, and if it's too much, then we'll split it.
Did he say 2 or 3? I feel like this is a and or we can just play.
Sorry. stay in D or no?
Stay in D for now. But don't feel that you have to try to get
Or,
let it go
on the
other
side.
places instead of feeling check.
If they're ready to rush.
Slow down. So, unless somebody doing orders.
This exercise is
Yeah,
cool. So we basically like create parameters and then we take a turn.
So if you
Yeah.
go to scale, but allow yourself to try to be more liberal with what that can be. Don't judge, don't feel so. Those tracks right there.
I do it for you quarters. Okay.
One and two and three and four and. Stay in D major though. No long.
I know, I don't wanna mess around with. Alright, stay in D, alright, stay in D, alright.
Now, so are you supposed to be doing the eighth note?
I think it's da, da, da.
Okay, but
No,
you're
but
doing
not
some
stop.
quarter notes though.
Oh, yeah, I know, I'm just a minute, okay,
Oh,
so
okay.
that.
No, I'm just asking. And then do you want to try doing eighth notes? So you
All right, I'll do quarters,
and
I'll do
you'll do quarters. 3 and 4 and. Beautiful. Now let's do a variation on this where you play 12 notes instead of D major. So any notes, right? And let's make another variation where you sometimes switch. So if you're doing eighth notes, you're doing quarters, but then you look at each other and you switch, and you go to eighths, and you go to quarters, and then again you switch again. Okay, but we're using all 12 notes.
Okay, hold on, now I'm doing quarters again?
You start on quarters, you start on eighths,
And then
but
we
then
switch
when you
on
look at each
quarters.
other, you switch.
Okay.
And, but this is 12 notes are all valid. So I'm going to give you a slower tempo. Ja, da, 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 da. Okay? 3 and 4 and. We've got 8 notes. Yeah.
Okay. Looking for your house, man. Sorry. Okay. Sorry, same thing.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Yeah, so using 12 notes is different, right? Also, one thing that would make this interesting would be if, because it seemed like you were challenged by trying to follow her that time to stay with her. So one way that you could practice that would be that you could, like, okay, follow me, but you could change the tempo slightly. Like you could rush and slow down to see if you can stay with you, right? That might be an interesting experiment.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Rather, you're still playing eighth notes, you're playing quarter notes, but you've got to follow her and she can change the tempo if she wants. That's what we want to do. Now, other variations of this, because we're just using rhythm, right, would be to do like, well, let's do triplets. Like, let's both play triplets together. Or one of us plays dotted quarters and one of us plays triplets, right? Or you could also include rests. You say rests are allowed. Or you could say we could play eighth notes and quarter notes and rests. And always, I like where we change, we go between the major scale, but we also go into the 12-note variation. So that was nice. What did you think about that?
Guess
what I mean by 12 is that there are 12 pitches that you can
Okay,
choose.
yeah.
You could put any picture,
A
right?
chromatic scale,
Okay.
that's what I'm And they don't have to be in any order, it's just to say you're not restricted to playing any order.
Can I ask you something
Yeah.
before I forget from earlier? Okay, so what you're telling us here with this other one, I don't know what the extended, okay. So what you're saying is that, for example, in G major, you put an F sharp at the beginning, 2 sharps, 3 sharps.
Yeah.
And you're just trying to play from that note to that note. Okay, so then you said to relate it to the bottom of this.
It's a simple.
It is, wait, hold on, you're missing, okay, so you're not using, for example, the C or the
this
D.
one, this one.
The
That's-
C here.
That's the pentatonic. The this is the one.
Oh, okay, I was like, okay, and so A Dorian, you're saying that just happens to be if I had put a sharp in here.
Exactly.
Okay. All right, and so pentatonic, why did you bring it up here? Why did you bring it up on this page?
No reason. Well, I mean, it could be applied, so in this, we wanna make this pentatonic, we just X out the notes that are.
Like whatever, the 4th and the 6th, is that what?
Yeah, whatever.
Like whatever it is. Okay, so, but there's no reason why you brought it up here, like it could be more useful and.
This could be, either of these could be used.
Okay, but not,
This major scale and this pentatonic, that's it.
okay,
Those are two scales.
okay, I just didn't know why the two were related, okay.
In the major scale, there's 2 notes that won't fit on the G chord or vice versa, right?
I don't understand that question.
You know, the pentatonic, the notes kind of play over any chord that's being played, right?
Right.
But the G major scale, there's 2 notes that won't play over any chord, right?
That's a good way to express it. The 4th and the 7th might sound like they're rubbing against the major triad. They might.
Okay, go back, say that again, okay, so I understand what you mean, so any chord can go in pentatonic, but not in major, is that what you're saying?
Well, I'll let him explain if you guys can talk about it. But I wanna let you have the opportunity to explore more of the free improv stuff.
Okay, that's fine, okay, sorry.
Otherwise,
I
we
get
can talk
it.
about the theory.
All right, so boss me around, tell me what to do, what are we gonna decide?
Find new structures.
Yeah, like triplets, okay, so I do a quad, a dot chord, yeah?
Be our guest 2020.
A minor, okay. Oops, I changed it, okay. With rest, I like that one better with the rest, rest is better, right? All right, thank you. What is your name, I'm sorry? Kevin, Anna, nice meeting you, now we're official.
Hi, I'm Austin.
Hi, Austin, how are you?
I haven't met you. You said your name is Anna?
Anna, yes.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, nice meeting you. Are you one of the ones walking around?
Yes.
Yes?
Just taking a look at the schedule. Yeah, I'm teaching like bluegrass stuff later, whatever, but,
Today you're doing that?
yep.
At what time? I don't even know. I had no Wi-Fi until I figured out that my password that I was using was the old one, the Blessings one. I saw it in the email. I was like, okay,
Yes,
let's see it.
yeah,
Yeah,
we
but that
just
was the
fixed
wrong
that
one.
yesterday. Yep. It's also, did you get on? It's also over here.
Oh, yeah, no, I didn't see it, so I went to check it out.
Yeah.
Let me grab it. At any point, will you cover chopping a little bit, like more complex chopping patterns? No? Not chopping?
Yeah, I was just
can make
looking
it
at the
basic,
schedule.
but I want
and
to do other more interesting.
I think chords and chopping
Oh, okay.
is one thing that I was thinking of adding on Wednesday.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, just wondering. Wait, so you're saying that the schedule's there, but it's not printed, right?
It's kind of evolving. So so no, I don't think it's printed. It's a Google Doc right now.
Okay. Let me see, I think I'm gonna actually just take a picture of the schedule. I didn't realize that I had the old password up all night. Yeah, I didn't like that. Are you with Rhythmic?
Oh, this little photo system you have here, very cool. It's all battered, right?
Bose, how many channels does it have?
Looks like 3, I guess.
3? Yeah, that would actually be really good for me. I have a Fishman that I really like, but it's only 2 channels.
Oh, you know what else is great about this? You have a line out, so you can use this like if you're performing, you can use it as a monitor and then put that to go to like out to your main speakers.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, the Fishman has that too, but not the 3 channels. The 3 channels is useful.
Yeah. Let me play something with y'all.
All right.
Who's been coming up with ideas?
No, I hate being the one that do it. Talk to me. Tell me what to do. I'll do it.
Well, one thing that I like to do in free improvisations is just think about there being like 3 or 4 different roles in most music that we listen to. One is melody, one is rhythm, and one is harmony, right? And so a lot of times in free improvisations, as I'm listening in groups of say 4, I'm trying to make sure that each of those is taken, and if 2 people are doing the same thing, and say a group of 2, or a group of 3, then I try to switch to one of those 3 things, right? So like kind of, you could stay on the same role or whatever, or you can swap. Why don't we try one where we just, say a role that we're playing, and then we'll do another one where we can kind of listen and try to switch. So, for example, the person who's responsible for rhythm, they just like, whatever they play, even if it's free, they just try to establish a pulse with what they do, right? And then the person who's responsible for harmony maybe plays double stops or maybe they shuffle or chop or whatever, some sort of thing that kind of fills in the space in between. Another person plays melody, which is mostly defined by, something that maybe sits above the stuff, right? Like it's kind of the highest, most prominent, and it has like breath to it. It has like a beginning and an end. So like if you play a musical idea it ends, you play another musical idea it ends. So which one of those 3 roles would you like to try? Harmony? Okay. What about you? Is that rhythm? Rhythm? Okay, so I'll leave it for this thing.
Alright. Hold on, so we just start without the melody?
Yeah, I would probably, in this case, I'd probably listen, most songs kind of like has a little groove in it, like I'll say. So I'll listen to what you guys come up with and I'll be inspired.
Alright. Yeah, I'm gonna kind of cheat, but here we go.
let you guys go. She left.
Dad warning. Dad in the proximity.
So, who wants to go?
Cammy. Austin's working with them, and I just worked with people in the closet, so we're covered over here.
Closet. What about that room?
I haven't checked. So. Austin might have been there before, but. I love it. Can I interject? Can I? What I don't even know exactly what you guys were doing, but I want you to. Oh really? You don't know what the structure was?
We
No,
did
we didn't.
before. So we were doing rolls,
What was it?
but we had just switched.
Yeah, we were
So-
switching roles.
Can you do the same thing then if you understand what you were doing, but do it with 12 tones instead of in a major scale? Because that sounded like that was in a major. There's nothing wrong with that, but I'd love to see what the contrast would be like if you used 12 tones.
Okay. I'm gonna lead again.
Okay.
And you could also make some other difference if you wanted to. Like I don't know what that would be, but one thing I noticed about it was dense. Could you make it half as dense? Which means take twice as many rests. Like everybody,
Oh,
like
okay.
if you can still maintain the rolls that you have, which I don't know anything about. So now we're going chromatic and we're making it twice as sparse. The next few days, we'll be live streaming various of the many classes and concerts and jams here at the Creative Strings Workshop. Coming to you from the Christmount Center in Black Mountain, Asheville, North Carolina. We have these retreats every summer. We also have a retreat in Europe that we do every 18 months. And we have online classes all the time. Where you can come on Zoom and play along in guided practice with me and other teachers. So you can check that out at christianhouse.com. Thanks for tuning in. Stick around. We'll see you soon.